A strong earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 7.1 hit off the coast of eastern Japan on Saturday, shaking buildings and triggering widespread blackouts, but there appeared to be no major damage and no tsunami warning. The epicenter of the earthquake was off the coast of Fukushima Prefecture at a depth of 60 kilometers, 36 miles, the Japan Meteorological Agency. It hit near the epicenter of a 2011 killer quake which triggered a towering tsunami and killed more than 18,000. The earthquake hit at 11:08 p.m. local time, 1408 GMT, and shook buildings in Tokyo. The meteorological agency said no tsunami warning had been issued. About 950,000 households were without power, government spokesman Katsunobu Kato told a briefing carried on public broadcaster NHK. He said there were no irregularities at two nuclear facilities, Fukushima Daiichi and Omega. Authorities were still checking at Fukushima Daiichi. He said. Kato said there was no danger of a tsunami. He said that some trains in northeastern Japan had stopped running, and that other damage was still Share this article. Share video from public broadcaster NHK TV showed some pieces of a building wall had broken off and fallen. Items fell off shelves because of the shaking, NHK said. NHK also said there were no reports of irregularities at another nuclear facility at Tokaimura, in Ibaraki Prefecture. Tokyo Electric Power Company Holdings said there was no change in the radiation levels around its. The quake threw dishes from shelves in houses in the region, but there were no immediate reports of damage. Local media reported the quake threw dishes from shelves in houses in the region, but there were no immediate reports of. Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga was called to his office, and broadcaster NHK said the government would set up a special liaison office to coordinate with affected regions. Some trains in the region were stopped after the quake. The quake hit off of Fukushima just weeks before the 10-year anniversary of the March 11, 2011, quake that devastated northeast Japan and triggered a massive tsunami that led to the world's worst nuclear crisis in a quarter of a. Earthquakes are common in Japan, one of the world's most seismically active. The country sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, an arc of intense seismic activity that stretches through Southeast Asia and across the Pacific Basin. Japan accounts for about 20% of the world's earthquakes of magnitude 6.